Hi, I'm Susie from the communications team at the Aquaya Institute. Millions of people in urban Africa don't have a water tap at home. And when we talk about expanding access to safe water, we often assume that each piped connection also benefits the households nearby. But does it? In this summary of a new peer-reviewed paper published in PLOS Water by Aquaya, we explored exactly that question in peri-urban communities in Accra, Ghana. The answer is more complicated than most people expect. You will hear directly from 4 people involved in the research. First, we hear from Faustina Boachie, Chief Manager of the Low Income Customer Support Department at Ghana Water Limited, the national utility responsible for serving the Greater Accra metropolitan area and beyond. She explains why research like this matters to the people making decisions about water access.
It is important for Ghana Water to carry out research on poor programs because we still have a significant number of people living in low-income urban communities who don't have reliable access to safe water. In some cases, households rely on informal vendors and can pay several times more per liter than those on the network. So what we are trying to do is to really understand what works on the ground. At the end of the day, it is about making sure everyone has access to safe and reliable water services.
So, that's the challenge Faustina described. Too many households in underserved communities without reliable water access, often paying more than they should. The question is, what actually works to change that? Aquaya senior researcher Haleemah Qureshi and her team compared households with pipe connections to those without. What they found challenges a widely held assumption about who actually benefits.
Our study focused on peri-urban communities outside Accra and compared households with piped connections to unconnected households. Consistent with other literature, we found that connected households experienced benefits, particularly higher levels of convenience in the form of time savings. One surprising finding was that when we compared households that relied on their neighbor's pipe connection to unconnected households that relied on non-piped sources like boreholes, we found no evidence of time savings. This is a clear contrast to other studies in the still limited body of literature on indirect impacts of water interventions. The finding also has important implications for those who assume that one pipe connection benefits more than just one household. These findings provide a strong justification for expanding pipe connections to as many households as possible, ideally all.
Haleemah's key finding is striking. Neighbors sharing a pipe connection don't see the same time saving as households with their own tap. But findings like that are only as strong as the methods used to produce them. And programs like Ghana Waters are not designed to create the condition for a research trial. Frederick Goddard, senior research data scientist at Aquaya, explains how the team designed a study that could account for those real-world constraints.
One challenge with evaluating programs like this is that you can't randomly assign households to get a connection the way that you might in a trial. In other words, you can't tell one household they'll get a tap and their neighbor that they won't because of infrastructure planning constraints. So in our analysis, we first needed to account for differences in connected and unconnected households before comparing benefits. We did that by matching households based on a range of characteristics like wealth, household size, and education. What I found noteworthy is that we saw consistent results when using different statistical approaches, which gives us greater confidence that the associations we're observing are not simply an artifact of the method we chose.
So, the team built a study design that accounted for those real-world constraints and the results held up across multiple methods, giving them confidence in their findings. But evidence only matters if it changes how people act. Les Jordan, former chief of party of the USAID Urban WASH Project, explains what this finding means for the people making decisions about where water investment goes.
This study can really help to inform investments in WASH in a couple of different ways. First, it helps to be able to quantify the benefits of piped water. Intuitively, we all probably know that it's helpful to have running water in our homes. But this study really quantifies those time savings and tells us about the improvements in affordability that households are getting. It's also telling us that while some neighbors might benefit when one household in the area gets piped water, those benefits aren't as high as some people have previously assumed. And so we really need to be investing in piped water for every single household. Finally, this can help us understand what motivates people to connect to utility services. Although we often talk about the health benefits, in this case it was really the convenience and the affordability that matter. Knowing this can help us design our programs and target messaging when we're trying to get people to pay for that initial water connection.
That's a wrap on this one. Thanks for listening and stay tuned for more research summary from the Aquaya Institute. To read the full paper, click the link in the description.